If you search the top best-selling books on productivity and time management, you will always find a combination of these three: The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, Deep Work by Cal Newport, and Essentialism by Greg McKeown. They're written a couple of years apart in different economies, but they all have the same premise. We got productivity wrong. In this video, we'll talk about how top performers actually do their most important work, and how you can implement that into your life. Welcome to Alux. In 2007, Tim Ferriss, the author of The 4-Hour Workweek, gave a presentation at South by Southwest.
My name is Tim Ferriss. So 3 reasons you might want to
The talk was about how
listen to me
working
today.
hard and long hours are in the detriment of what you're actually trying to achieve. This was at a time when Steve Jobs just released the iPhone and Facebook was starting to gain millions of users. The overall sentiment of Silicon Valley was being proud of overworking. You wanted to be the one working from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. because that's what everyone was doing. And since Silicon Valley is viewed as the bedrock for great minds and rich tech entrepreneurs, it echoed to every field. Soon after, a myth is born: hyperproductivity, also known as hustle culture. A lot of people make an honest effort to learn how to be productive, including yourself since you're watching this video. Everyone wants to be known as a hustler, an industry-changing individual who against all odds managed to build an empire. You want your face on Forbes magazine and everyone talking about you. And blinded by the hustle culture, you believe the only way to achieve that is to outwork everybody. After all, in almost every interview you see, highly successful entrepreneurs boast about their nights sleeping under the desk at the office.
Where do you sleep tonight?
Tonight's in the factory.
In the factory.
And even if that isn't your ultimate goal, you are still being misguided by the hustle culture. There isn't even an actual definition for hyperproductivity because it's a made-up word, but people generally mean doing more things in a shorter time than humanly possible. And this led to a whole new industry: the productivity business. The technology that is supposed to make us more productive is only making us work longer. In almost every job you have, you are, in one way or another, always on. You are one notification away. You're hyper-connected. The problem with the productivity business is that it's built by tech entrepreneurs. They study human behavior, and their main goal is to build products that sell. They do that by convincing people they need their products in their life. And it worked out great. We got useful products that made work between people seamless. Think of Dropbox, for example. The company brought in $500 million in revenue last year alone. Slack, the messaging app, was acquired for $27 billion. They made almost $1 billion in revenue in 2021. But there is one side effect these products have. They make work infinite. It never stops. There's always something to do, and if you're not doing it, you're perceived as slacking, pun intended. You have unlimited boards you can make. Your cloud storage never runs out of space. Unless you're using Apple, we still don't know why we're always at full. Hundreds of tasks are stacked together in an infinite company feed which seems to never end. You start your day, check your tasks, and the sheer volume of work flooding your monitor makes you want to go take a nap. You don't know where to start, when to finish, or what to prioritize. You feel like you're being unproductive and you want to work harder. This is when the problem of hyperproductivity shows its face. Hard work is not sustainable. But Alux, you always preached hard work. That's true, and look, we're still believers in hard work, with some caveats. The best way to explain this is by asking you a question Tim Ferriss asked the audience at South by Southwest.
How do your decisions and priorities change if retirement will never be an option?
If you think about it, almost everyone who enjoys the work they're doing never wants to quit or retire. They can't stand doing nothing, and even though they might cut down on work as they age, their mind is still there. As an average person, you spend around 500 months of your life working. That's roughly 42 years, or about half of your entire time here on Earth. Do you really believe you'll be able to execute at maximum capacity the entire time? An important thing to know is this: you are not one app away from being productive. There isn't a plugin or a combination of apps that will make you productive. You can't update your software to get more things done. So if hard work or productivity apps are not the solution, where do you go from here? The first step is to understand the difference between efficient versus effective. By definition, being efficient means maximum productivity with minimal wasted effort or expense. It sounds pretty good on paper, but in the real world, this translates to, if you're good at your job, you get to do the job of others as well. Now, of course, if you're bootstrapping your own startup, being efficient is a priority, but we're guessing that's not what you're here for. If you're highly efficient at your job, that means you're doing the same work in less time and with fewer resources, which often rewards you with more work to fill out your now free schedule. And more often than not, that work, it's just filler content. It has no real value besides making you feel like you're not wasting company time on your time. Think about what you did yesterday. How many hours have you spent working, and what value did those hours bring? What positive result did you achieve? According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average worker is actually working around 2 hours and 53 minutes each day. In an 8-hour day schedule, you spend more than half of your time doing nothing of value. The good news is that if you're working from home or you have more control over your time, technically speaking, what you do in 3 hours on your own equals a full-day job in an office. Which brings us to being effective. By definition, being effective means reaching a desired outcome. Let's say your outcome is to cut down a tree. If you focus on being efficient, you'll calculate the perfect angle, the right amount of force, and the optimal number of hits to cut that tree down as fast as possible. But if you're being efficient, you just sharpen the axe. It's a different mindset altogether, and this leads us to the reason you clicked on this video. The fastest way to be productive. Those 3 books we mentioned at the beginning all focus on one important thing: being effective at the right things. You do this by focusing only on actions that have the highest leverage. To better understand what this means, in a recent interview, Tim Ferriss was asked exactly this: how to find actions with the highest leverage. And this was his response. In the process of writing the 4-Hour Workweek, he had to talk with a lot of people. Naturally, he started to focus on getting better at interviews and asking good questions. And this led him to starting a podcast where he deconstructs world-class performers. Interviewing became his action with the highest leverage. For one, his podcast is now one of the most popular in the world, with over 700 million downloads. And secondly, the insight he got from his interviews led him to write multiple best-selling books. Now, imagine what the action with the highest leverage is for you. Let's say you're a writer. If you write 5 pages every morning, a couple of things will happen for you. 1. You freeze your thoughts in the physical plane. 2. You get better at writing when you don't have anything to write about. And 3. After about a year, you've got enough content to make 3 novels. Writing those 5 pages every day can be the action with the highest leverage, and focusing just on that will make you the most productive you can be. And this approach can translate into pretty much every field. You see, the trick to productivity is not having 18 time management apps on your laptop and doing 5 things at once. It's not about how fast you can do a certain task, nor how many things you can do in a given day. The best performers in the world only focus on the action that has the highest impact, and that's the fastest way to be extremely productive. Now, you may have a problem with procrastination, but luckily for you, we've got the perfect solution. If you enjoyed this video, you'll love the next one where we tackle how to handle procrastination and give you a proven framework to work with. And you can watch it by clicking in the top right corner or checking out the link in the pinned comment. We'll see you next time, Aluxer.